When we are dressed appropriately, we are communicating a lot of things. Possibly the most important thing is that we understood the assignment. We understood what was expected in any given scenario. You, at the very least, understand the rules of the occasion, the place, the season. It indicates how socially capable someone is. You are able to communicate that you're with it enough to at least understand what's appropriate to wear in any given situation. That's kind of the baseline and why it seems so out of place when someone isn't dressed for the weather, the occasion, the people that they're going to be around, things of that nature. When our outfit is suitable, it communicates a lot of good things, sort of like background knowledge that we possess and basic social skills. When we're wearing something unsuitable, it communicates the exact opposite. And that is why inappropriate clothing stands out so much more than appropriate clothing. When people are dressed appropriately, it doesn't necessarily catch our eye quite as much unless it's a particularly fabulous outfit. But when somebody's wearing something inappropriate, even if it's only slightly inappropriate, like say not quite right for the weather, but not in an extreme sense, we still notice it. It still stands out to us quite a little bit. So what Meghan Markle did by wearing a backless, side boob exposing dress to a school was equivalent to wearing a dress that had similar exposed areas to, say, a kid's birthday party. Like, why? What are you doing? Any event that is going to be around a bunch of children, it makes no sense to wear something that exposes side boob or a lot of cleavage and has backless elements to it. It just doesn't make sense. Similar things that would not make sense to wear in an event that is child focused and around a lot of kids would be very short hemlines or something extremely figure hugging, something that looks like a cocktail dress, a club dress, or evening wear of some sort. Put your cleavage, side boob, and cutouts away for any event that involves kids. Birthday parties, schools, anything like that. That is one situation where showing skin really stands out as weird, bizarre choice and inappropriate. It maketh no sense. Today we are taking a look back at Meghan Markle's disastrous outfit choices for her and Harry's trip to Nigeria. It was a publicized vacation jam-packed with terrible wardrobe choices. But before we get into the outfits, please do consider subscribing if you haven't already, and leave a comment if you would like to for the algorithm. If you don't know what to comment, just leave a yellow heart. So the real lesson that we can learn from Meghan's mistakes on this trip comes down to dressing for the occasion. Although she had a generally negative experience when it came to her style and her wardrobe on that trip, maybe she was very ill-prepared, maybe she really honestly didn't understand the assignment. Maybe she didn't try. Maybe it was oppositional defiance. Who knows? Who really cares? The point is, she made a lot of different mistakes, and there's lots of little things that we can sort through as errors. If we were to pick just one as the biggest theme from the style lessons of the Nigeria trip, it would be dressing for the occasion, suitable outfits for any given situation, which involves a few things. The weather, obviously, the culture in the area. Obviously, if you're just doing normal life, you have a very good grip on the culture. If you're traveling, it does pay off to do a little research on the general vibes when it comes to style and fashion and what's appropriate, not just for being culturally sensitive in the way of respecting the place that you're in, but also for weather and practical purposes. For example, a lot of places that are really, really hot, the locals wear longer sleeved things in lightweight fabric because you're so much cooler without exposed skin. The sun beating down on your bare skin heats you up so much faster, and you have to worry about sunscreen all of the time. So learning what the locals wear has advantages to being your most comfortable as well. Another element is your audience. Who are you going to be around? Other people your same age? Are you going to be around older people? Maybe you're going to visit grandparents. Are you going to be visiting a nursing home? Are you going to be visiting schools and seeing nieces and nephews or at kids' birthday parties? What exactly are you going to be doing? What sort of audiences will you be around? And that doesn't just apply to people who are hosting something or going to be presenting in some way, shape, or form. Audience just means the people you're going to be interacting with at any given event. For example, if you're planning a trip where some of the days you're going to be visiting a church, you're going to need to bring things specifically for that occasion versus days that you're going to be at the beach around lots of other beach goers. And if you're going to be eating at beachside places, it's much more acceptable to stay in your beachwear than if you're going to go somewhere else for dinner. You might want to make room for an outfit change, for example. So taking a detailed look into Meghan Markle's wardrobe on the Nigeria trip can offer us a lot of lessons and information on how to dress suitably for an occasion. And it was challenging having to decide between the disastrous finish of this outfit or dressing for the occasion being the biggest takeaway from her style on this trip. But because almost every appearance she made, she was not dressed appropriately either for the culture, the audience, or the event itself, suitability in clothing definitely outweighed this atrocious finish that she achieved here in this outfit. That's the big takeaway. And a lot of people ask, what does it matter? Before you go and say something like, you should be able to wear whatever you want, Meghan is just choosing things that she likes and that's all that matters. Remember that dressing for the occasion and being presentable not only signals more than just a choice of garment that we like or decided to wear that day, it also has significance in etiquette. What we wear really does have an impact on how those around us feel and what they're thinking. We have the power to make other people feel comfortable or uncomfortable through our clothing, which can be in the form of wearing something strapless, backless, or spaghetti strap when you're going to be in close quarters, hugging people, or in a professional setting, visiting schools, things like that. It can also come in the form of making people question their own outfits, like, did I overdress or did I underdress? Based on whatever it is that you're wearing. Especially because Harry and Meghan were the featured guests, you could say, in a lot of these events or occasions. What they wear and the level of formality to their outfits does send signals to the other people in the room for them to gauge whether they dressed appropriately or not, and it can make other people feel a little self-conscious if you're grossly overdressed or grossly underdressed, which you will see lots of examples of in today's video. There's also things like risk of flashing or certain settings where a skimpier outfit that's more figure hugging, strapless, has a high slit, things like that is just simply inappropriate. Good manners is about making other people feel at ease. It's also about showing respect to the other people in the situation, the venue, the culture, etc. It's safe to say Meghan Markle disregarded all of it. But let's take a closer look at each of these outfits and what exactly went so disastrously wrong. Let's begin with this set of outfits. Now, this was one of their more successful pairing of outfits for both Harry and Meghan, and together as a couple. This did look really nice. They both look quite polished. It was a great choice. Although I wouldn't go as far as People magazine decided to, which they said Prince Harry and Meghan Markle match the flag. They absolutely do not. Hold your horses. The Nigerian flag is white and green, like true bright green. Not teal. Prince Harry is wearing teal, so this is not a match. Very different color, but I wouldn't expect people to be accurate at all anyway. But this was a great look for them both. I mean, the suit on Harry, it's a really nice color for him. It's not gray, it's not beige, it's not plain. It seems to be fitting nice. It might be a little bit roomy in the arms. It could have maybe used one more fitting, but I'll give that a pass just because the color is so nice. And Meghan Markle looked really, really nice. Now, this particular cut of suit is exactly what she needs for her body type, and it solves a lot of her style concerns. We all have style concerns. It's basically just any area that makes it a little bit difficult to fit off the rack. For example, if you have a larger bust in proportion to sizes that fit you everywhere else, like myself, or if you're particularly short, so things tend to need to be hemmed. But it also has to do with balancing out your proportions. Like, for example, if your widest point is your shoulder and you have narrow hips, you might want to try to balance that in your outfits. That counts as a style concern. Meghan Markle's style concerns include having a shorter torso in proportion to her legs. So, for example, her arms and legs look particularly long or lanky, some people say, in relation to her torso, which is shorter. Sometimes people refer it to as short-waisted or short-torsoed. She also lacks a well-defined waist, so she's got a little bit of a boxy torso as well. Another style concern for her is her broader shoulders. That's the widest point on her body. So she has a bit of an inverted triangle shape, but she also leans a little bit apple or rectangle depending. And this suit solves so many of those problems. Let's begin with the trousers. They are a little long, but they're not dragging and puddling up on the floor in a dramatic way like we've seen previously. So that's good. They're also not super dramatically wide leg or super skinny. That is exactly what she needs. So the choice of trouser is on point. The blazer itself looks to fit her shoulder line pretty closely, not enough to complain about. The one button style here, combined with the cut of the blazer, how it has this slight flare and a longer length to it, create the illusion of more of a waistline. You can see it plain and simple here. It's giving her a slight hourglass shape that she doesn't naturally possess. So this is a perfect choice of blazer for her. It's providing that illusion in large part because of that single button in the center, but also, more importantly, due to the length of it and that slight flare that it has as it comes down to the hip and upper thigh. The length of the blazer is covering up or camouflaging or just blending her shorter torso proportion because you can't see exactly where the torso stops, as well as the thinner hips in comparison to the shoulder line proportion. So it's blending out both of those proportion style concerns, which is hugely beneficial to her overall silhouette. It balances her proportions beautifully. Now, if this blazer didn't taper out at the bottom of it, didn't have that slight flare, it wouldn't have as strong of an impact. But overall, this is a perfect pairing for her body when it comes to balancing out her proportions and giving her a nice silhouette. So I was so pleasantly surprised to see that she chose the correct cut of suit for herself here. Or perhaps a stylist chose it for her, who knows? She did throw it off a bit though with this choice of shoe. It's very elongating to her foot because it's got a bit of a point to it, and the color is just really odd to pair up with this suit. They look strange. I cannot figure out why she chose these shoes. It doesn't tie in anywhere else in the outfit. She didn't wear these shoes again on the trip. I don't know why she couldn't have just gone for some basic round toe flats, a simple white loafer, simple white pumps. I don't know. The shoes are terrible. And other thing really throwing off this outfit is the fact that the undershirt is more of a cream color. The fact that the top and trousers match perfectly, at least on my computer here, is good. That's great. But there's really no excuse to not have the undershirt also match perfectly because, as we've been over, she can afford to send an assistant out to find something that matches perfectly. It cheapens the look just a tad. So while the silhouette is perfect for her, those little details like the undershirt and the shoes do take away from its finish as compared to, say, Catherine the Princess of Wales white trouser suits here. Everything matches perfectly, even the shoes. It looks so much more pulled together and polished, and the finish is just impactful that way when it's all seamlessly pulled together. And so this is still one of her and Harry's best from the trip overall. Now, on the day that they visited this school and Meghan wore this terrible peach dress, Harry wore what looked to be a linen shirt and lightweight trousers. It got a tad wrinkly, but that's expected with that sort of a fabric. Linen is very wrinkle prone. It does read really casual in comparison to Meghan Markle's dress. So perhaps they could have coordinated better, but that would have fallen on Meghan to choose something less dressy for that occasion because the dress she wore was highly inappropriate regardless. And I went into great detail as to why it's not appropriate in the previous video, which I will link for you again up here and in the description box too. I did comment that as for her jewelry, it also looks a little over the top for this particular visit. The large earrings and chunky necklace, so many people commented that the necklaces were a gift. Yes, I was speaking about the gold necklace. The gold necklace that she has on, it's just big, thick, chunky. It's a little much for a school visit. At a school visit during the daytime, you wouldn't want to wear a dress this nice and you wouldn't want to wear this much jewelry. Something a little bit more understated is what's polite and appropriate for a school setting. So I was talking about the gold necklace. The wood necklaces, the wood bead necklaces that they have were gifts and are perfectly appropriate to be wearing. Itself, it doesn't necessarily create the illusion of a waistline the way that white suit jacket did, but it also doesn't widen or draw the eye too aggressively there either. So I think that it's fine in terms of balancing her figure okay. It does have that sort of drop waist seam where the skirt starts around the thigh area, and that does help to give the illusion of balancing out her proportions a little bit more too, which is good. My biggest complaint on this particular peach disaster is that it was not anywhere near appropriate for the occasion. My second biggest complaint is that it was too big. It was a bit frumpy in the middle. It was far too long. Dragging on the floor, things like that really took away from the look. It made it look messy, and that was unfortunate. Let's look at an outfit from day 2. And oh dear, this palm print dress is completely inappropriate once again. The shoes, let's start with the shoes. They have this line up the front, up the top of the foot, and that is very elongating to the foot, and she already has kind of long feet. So it's not necessarily the best style of shoe for her. The print of the dress I really like, but it's a very beachy or casual date night even. It's not professional or sporty. So this was the event in which Harry and Meghan went to watch a volleyball game, and Harry joined in a sit-down volleyball game, and Meghan chose to wear this. Whether they're spinning this trip as Invictus or R12 related, it still means that they're there in a professional capacity. So this is decidedly unprofessional in every sense of the word. As far as the fit goes, the straps definitely look like they needed to be shortened. They look like they're hovering a little bit, like they definitely have way too much room and will be falling down and slipping down all day long. And because they are not shortened to really fit her perfectly, it makes it look like the bodice of the dress is sitting too low. It's accentuating the small bust. It's not creating any sort of a flattering waistline situation. That's kind of exaggerating this area up here. What she really should have done was have this dress customized to add a little bit of a sleeve. We've seen Catherine the Princess of Wales have her outfits or dresses adjusted to take away sheer elements or to add sleeves to make them more suitable for a given event. It's not that hard to do, and Meghan really has no excuse to not do it because the amount of money she spent on the outfits for this trip is insane. She has over $200,000 worth of jewelry and clothes that were new on this trip, excluding rewears, according to one source. So having this dress modified to make it more appropriate would have been no big deal in that context. The slit is also a bit high for this event, for this occasion as well, because she was also meeting with kids and things like that. And the fact that it has a slit and is basically spaghetti strap situation just gives such a casual going to dinner at a beachside place with your husband on vacation sort of a vibe is what this looks like. It does not look like she belongs at this event in this outfit. When you don't dress for the occasion, mainly you make a fool of yourself, and that's what this looks like here. And since it was Invictus related, once again, she should have been wearing something Invictus. That would have made sense. It would have given a sporty edge to her look. It would have been approachable. It would have been normal. But instead, she's sticking out like a sore thumb, dressed for dinner at a volleyball game. While they watched this volleyball match, I know when you look at your outfit, you'd never think that that's where she is, but that's what she chose to wear to watch volleyball of all things. But they had gifted her a scarf upon arrival made with the colors of the Nigerian flag, and she wore it for like 2 seconds and then took it off and placed it in her lap. And that was just plain rude. She really should have kept it on like Prince Harry did. What the heck is that about? Overall, the massive amount of exposed squared off chest up here is just not flattering on top of being at the wrong venue. Later that day at the evening reception, Meghan Markle wore this clean, simple white dress. Because it's a lighter color, it does help balance the shoulders to some degree. If it were a black strapless dress, it would have been very, very shoulder heavy in terms of visual dominance. Because black is slenderizing, it would have just created this situation where the shoulders were so visually dominant. But because the dress itself is white, it's drawing the eye to the dress itself, and the shoulders have the illusion of a better balance there. This one also, I believe, was linen fabric, so it did get lots and lots of wrinkles as the evening wore on. It became very, very wrinkly. Looks like it's falling down just a tad in many of the pictures. I think that adding sleeves again, or finding a dress that had at least like cap sleeves, would have been a much better option than something fully strapless. It was also perhaps a bit of a missed opportunity to wear something more representative of the host culture. None of the other women in this picture, for example, who are hosting her, had exposed shoulders. They all had covered shoulders and décolleté. It would have been much more professional and respectful to these people to not do strapless. And it was, again, a chance where she could have worn something really colorful, a bright pattern, something. She did make a really big deal of wearing more color, but really I feel like that just drew more attention to the fact that she had this weird issue with beiges and neutrals and plain colors and bland colors that she blamed on the royal family, but then has proceeded to spend years avoiding wearing color. So why not just say you prefer to wear neutrals, or you feel more confident in neutrals, or something. Instead, she tried to blame it on the royal family and then proceeded to still wear neutrals all the time. I just think drawing attention to her choice of color in wardrobe was maybe a mistake, because it also simultaneously drew attention to the fact that she lied about the royal family and what to wear. And in this scenario, at this evening reception, something really fun and colorful that had a bit of a sleeve would have been much more exciting. As we've discussed previously, something with a fit and flare style silhouette, something with some softness to it via its fabric, for example, flowier skirts, flowier fabrics, those sorts of things really help to bring balance visually to her figure, because she does have a bit more angular, boxy figure. So it would have been nice to see her in something with a little bit more flow to it than this. Back on day 2, at the World Trade Organization Women in Leadership panel, she said she wore this because she got the memo she needed to wear more color, which is true, she does, but she also shouldn't be doing spaghetti straps either. So this look overall is quite unfortunate. She just can't fully get it right almost ever. Even the amazing suit that complemented her silhouette and balanced her proportions, she ruined it with terrible shoes and a cream undershirt. It's like we just can't quite get it fully together. But look at the other women on the panel. They're covered. They're wearing sleeves. Their shoulders and chest are not exposed. You really should respect the culture of the place that you're visiting, whether you're a tourist or there in a professional capacity, no matter. But it's even more important when you're doing something in a public setting like this, where there's going to be publicity surrounding it. Ultimately, it does make the person doing it, in this case Meghan Markle, look insensitive, clueless, out of touch, or even rude. It's not empowering to wear something that goes against an entire culture's norms. Honestly, my first thought with this dress is that red is a great color for her, but she looks like she's ready to go flamingo dancing or to an evening event. Like, not a serious panel alongside accomplished, well-educated, and successful women. As for the dress, looking at it on its own and her body type here, it is a little bit widening to the shoulder line, in large part because of the size of those spaghetti straps. They are so thin and tiny that it sort of exaggerates the shoulder line by accident. If the straps were wider and thicker, you know, like a normal sleeveless rather than a spaghetti strap situation, it would have helped to avoid that illusion of a widening shoulder line. Big major faux pas here, we can see the belly button. This dress really needed a good smoothing underlayer. We can also see a panty line here. You need a good smoothing underlayer. If this were someone in a private life context, it would not matter at all to have a panty line or belly button able to be seen under a dress. Of course not.
She is on stage in a public situation doing something allegedly professional capacity here. So it's really important to take those precautions to not look sloppy. To add professionalism to your dress and your presence is valuable. It only helps yourself to avoid embarrassing malfunctions that take away from your presence, like your belly button, your bra lines, your panty lines being visible under a dress. Not to mention, in this particular country, with its religion and culture, these sorts of things are not considered appropriate in public settings. And alongside these other women, she looks just incredibly out of place. This isn't even something any other respectable actress would wear on an occasion like this at all. This is just not appropriate for the occasion. I don't know how many other ways it can be said, but it looks bad. It's honestly one of the worst dresses from the trip, but her hair and makeup are nice here. She doesn't have the tendrils hanging down. It's a nice, clean hairstyle. I think that's great. The makeup, is like okay. It's a little bit underblended, but it looks pretty good. The dress overall just screams anything but a professional panel discussion. It doesn't fit the venue whatsoever. Furthermore, it's executed poorly with the lack of a smoothing layer underneath. Before we look at more outfits, let's take a look at her makeup a little closer. Her brows have been much heavier throughout this entire trip. It seems like she's just going for that look now with a more dominant brow, or perhaps she had an eyebrow hair transplant. She has had really sparse, but not completely sparse eyebrows in the past. Like, for example, in these pictures, you can see the tail of her eyebrow is incredibly sparse. There's just not like a ton of eyebrow hair going on here back when she was part of the royal family. No matter, that's totally normal. She grew up at a time where I think over plucking the brows was pretty standard, I assume, in that era. Help me out in the comments. Sometimes if you have overplucked, then you end up with this sort of like really sparse brow. Celebrities and just people in general have chosen to go for an eyebrow hair transplant where individual follicles are placed to add back some hair to those brows rather than having to always pencil them in. This is something that she may very well have had done because we have seen much more heavy brows for a while now. Now, while I do agree her brows look a tad bit heavy in these pictures, I also think that because she has small sized eyes that are slightly recessed and slightly hooded, that having a little bit heavier of a brow is helpful to add a little bit more visual weight to this area of her face. I think that that does help a little bit to balance with the mouth and smile. For example, if you look at thirds of a face, the sparser eyebrows that she had paired up with the smaller eyes, I think benefit from slightly heavier brows. But this might be a little too far. Maybe just finding a happy middle in between would be the most flattering to her face. But let's move on. The majority of the pictures I have seen, she does not have that super dark eye makeup on, so that is good. We've spoken before about how having very dark shadow on her particular eye shape and structure can tend to pull the eyes even farther back in and make them look even smaller and even more far away almost, or even deeper set than they really are. By avoiding darker eyeshadow and too heavy of liner, even adding light shadow or shimmer can help bring them forward a little bit more, lighten them up a little bit, make them appear brighter, and maybe even a tad bit bigger than they are. So that looks good. She has been going for a lot of bronzer and a lot of highlighter on this trip, and underblended blush. I'm noticing a lot of almost completely unblended blush here during this trip. I'm not sure what that's about. I will say that a toned down makeup look on a trip like this would have probably been a little bit more approachable or grounding of a look for PR purposes. I think it would have enhanced her appeal a little bit if she would have worn more minimal makeup. Instead, the outfits that are over the top and ill-suiting for the event, combined with the heavy makeup, it's really lending to the narrative that this was very much a Meghan show, that she was there to wear lots of outfits and get lots of pictures for her own gain, much like these other scenarios that we have seen throughout the past. So it really lends itself to this pattern rather than showing that she's here for other reasons, for better reasons this time. It's not the case. Moving on to the polo match outfit. This was another sad attempt, unfortunately. This one is really blowing my mind. It's confusing. The puckering of what looks to be bust darts are 3 inches lower than where her bust actually is. So this dress confused me to no end until I saw this picture from behind. Because from the front, looking at it, I observe this, which looks like bust darts. Like that's where, if you don't know, that would mean that that's where your boob should be. And your nipple or the apex of your bust should land right about where those darts end. But this perplexed me. Dress is not like huge across her midsection. It fits her midsection okay. So then I was like, well, it's not like she ordered 5 sizes too big. So I was trying to figure out how this could possibly be how this dress was designed and how this could possibly happen. But it would appear, looking at it from this back angle here, you can see that it's one of those tie style halter dresses. So it's just 2 pieces that you tie yourself, which allows you to adjust its height. So it would appear that she tied it to be super low, which also creates a deeper V-neck situation. What is happening? Why would she do that? Why would she do that? It creates the illusion that it's too long for her throughout the torso, and it makes the whole situation look weird. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but that's the best I can figure out, because it having these weird puckers here 3 inches below the boob is so strange. I don't understand it. Looking at pictures of it on the manufacturer's website, it doesn't look like this at all. It's so strange. I feel like it's just one of those dresses that wasn't a good match for her proportions, because it's a very almost 20s inspired silhouette where the waistline hits really low. So I'm not exactly sure what is happening or how this is happening, but it looks bad. It looks like she did it wrong or is wearing it wrong. I'm not sure, but the whole thing is messy around the bust. That's the point. It's also quite wrinkly along the sides, and the skirt of it is very, very wrinkly. As we discussed, deep V-necks and bare shoulders are not respectful to this particular host country and culture, and they're certainly not a professional option either. As far as representing Invictus and Archewell, it's supposed to be professional, so this was a big mistake in judging the circumstances and what would be appropriate for the occasion. Now, that may be up for debate whether it's truly appropriate or not, whether it's actually offensive or not in the context of the country and the culture and the religions. Fair enough. I am not an expert on what would be considered offensive to wear in Nigeria amongst their particular social norms. As far as it being a good fit for her and for the occasion itself, going to watch this polo match, I would say definitely not in this setting. If she were going to a private polo match, a private polo club, sure. But for this, no, I don't think so. I believe it was People magazine again coming in with a phrase that completely does not belong. Elegant tailoring dominated Meghan Markle's looks. Decidedly false. Absolutely not. This needed lots of tailoring in order to be anywhere near approaching elegant. It was a really poor match for Meg's body type and for the event itself. It also gives a really, really boxy silhouette on her. The skirt is hanging really, really heavily there at the waistline. It's really widening her waistline here. This is drawing the focal point to her waistline, and it's creating or exaggerating the boxiness of her torso. It's adding visual weight right there, making her stomach area look bigger than it is. That is not the way it looks on the model in the designs. So again, I'm just not sure how this happened. A flowier skirt definitely would have helped. All this visual weight around the waistline from the twist and wrap style is not helping anything. Bulking up the midsection and drawing the eye there are the complete opposite of what she needs. It enhances her boxy figure, it exaggerates the lack of a well-defined waist rather than blending it, but it does draw the eye away from the shoulder line, and the deep V-neck in turn makes her midsection look much larger and less flattering, while creating a very strange boob situation, but at least it didn't make her shoulders look out of proportionally wide. Perhaps that's the positive we can take away from this outfit. Every other woman, again, up here had much more modest choices on. None of these women have exposed shoulders or deep V-necks. Also from day 3, we have this yellow dress. Now, on this day, Harry started to look a bit unhappy, I would say. The majority of the pictures from day 3, he's pretty frowny and looks pretty irritated. Perhaps this couple just doesn't enjoy doing tours. We talk about in the South Africa trip, the evolution throughout the trip. By the last day, things were very, very testy. And this just reminds me of that. We have an upcoming video discussing a little bit more about Harry and Meghan and their dynamic on this trip, but we're also taking a look at their South Africa trip in a 3-part special next week, so be sure to subscribe so you do not miss those upcoming videos. But as for the outfit, Harry's is very mismatched. It looks to be a linen blazer, so it's getting very, very wrinkly. His pants look a little wrinkled, his shirt looks a little wrinkled. Maybe it was just a rough time or they forgot their iron, I don't know. The shoes don't match the jacket enough to tie this whole outfit together. So really for this occasion, especially next to Meghan in her Carolina Herrera dress that looks very much more like an evening gown, he should have worn something a little nicer. Perhaps popped on the teal suit again or just brought a different suit. As for Meghan's dress, I absolutely love the color. It's my favorite color to look at, yellow is. I think it's really pretty in a lot of ways. The color itself is absolutely gorgeous and gorgeous on her. The dress itself has quite a bit going for it. I do like the French twist hairstyle she tried here. She still has her comfort strands in the front, but overall I think that this is a better hairstyle than on some of the other outfits and other days. The dress silhouette itself is just not my personal favorite, I will say. I've never been drawn to this particular style of dress myself. It makes me look and feel very, very frumpy in a dress like this, in part because I have a larger bust and things like that. If my waist isn't defined in any way, I look ginormous. She doesn't have the same set of problems though, so this style of dress works better for her than it would for others. Despite it not being my favorite, I can see the positives that it has for her. The wider straps, as opposed to say the spaghetti straps we saw previously, help to not exaggerate or draw the eye to a broader shoulder line, so that's good. The length is okay. It maybe could have stood to be hemmed just a tad bit more, but overall it's better than the perilous peach dress that was puddling up on the floor. This drapey design does help to camouflage her short torso and her wider waistline, so that does benefit her silhouette. The downside is her execution of this dress, which lies in her undergarments. She chose the wrong bra. As you can see, it's giving a very shelf-like appearance to the bust. There's almost like a straight across line right here. She should have chosen a t-shirt bra or a one-piece item that had a more rounded or natural construction to the cup of the bra, which would have really helped prevent this almost angular look to the bust line. So that would have been helpful. You're doing something at this high level of an operation or situation here, you would think you would have at least 2 sessions of trying items on and photographing them so that you knew and had the confidence when you went to do the event that it wasn't going to have some sort of strange appearance like this. Now, that is a very, very small issue in comparison to the look overall, which is pretty nice. It looks a little wrinkly throughout the skirt, but again, I don't think anything major. Overall, I think this is one of her better looks from the trip. It's also a rewear, which is a good choice too. It shows that she's being frugal, at least to some extent, re-wearing an item that she's worn, I think, previously twice. Day 3, we had an official state welcome, which makes 0 sense, and she wore this Carolina Herrera shirt and a traditional wrap skirt that she had been gifted the day before, and her hair in a half-up style. I like the half-up style. Was it a good day or a good outfit to pair half up? Absolutely not. She should have gone fully back with this particular outfit because it's got this big messy collar situation here and it was hot. Having the collar and the hair down does add a little bit of visual mess to that area. It would have looked more polished if she did her hair up or back in a ponytail even. The shirt is a wrinkly disaster. She's done this terribly bulky rolling up of the sleeves that she likes to do that just looks really bad and really messy. And furthermore, because she rolls them up to right here, which falls in line with her waistline and the spot at which her skirt begins, it adds a lot of visual weight right there and bulks up this whole entire area. sort of drawing the eye more and widening the waistline even more. So it's just not good strategy when it comes to her styling either. Wrap skirt. It's a beautiful color scheme. It's appropriate choice for the situation. I think it was great and respectful for her to wear the skirt. We do unfortunately have a bra outline here. Not sure why or how that could happen at all. It shouldn't be. It makes no sense. Some commentators defended the spaghetti strap and backless dresses with the saying that she's in a country that's very, very hot. It's a hot climate, and at this particular time, it's very high temperatures. But this, I think, pokes holes in their argument. She's wearing a shirt with sleeves and a skirt that's completely full and wrapped around in layers, and she was clearly pretty hot. She was a little sweaty in some of the pictures, but that's a completely understandable thing. But what my point is, she's capable of wearing an outfit that is not spaghetti strap, is not skin bearing, or has an open back or side, and not being overheated to the point of complete and utter discomfort. Furthermore, on a trip like this, her priority should be making sure the people around her are comfortable, and that includes wearing an appropriate outfit. It's not about her comfort. Her comfort is not the priority in situations like this. Being appropriate is the priority. This is another set of pictures where Harry looks just really unhappy and cranky. The speculation, the rumor, is that she caused a huge argument right before this day began, and these events kicked off on day 3, and that's why we have the typical acting from Meghan and anger from Harry on these days. But what do you think? That is just a rumor. Please leave your thoughts on that in the comments section. I'm interested to read them. If we were to rank her outfits from best to worst, taking into consideration their fit for her body, and her execution, meaning her base layers, having it not be wrinkled, things like that, the styling, which would include hair, makeup, jewelry, and the suitability for the occasion, the venue, as well as cultural context, meaning showing respect to the host nation and culture, I would place her outfits in the following order. A white pantsuit, best of the trip, because the only issue is that she threatened to ruin it with poor choice of shoes and undershirt. The outfit itself, though, the suit pieces were perfect. The yellow dress, probably next best because it has so many upsides, and the biggest issue was she wore the wrong bra. Bigger problems have occurred, so that one I would put in second place probably. Third place would probably be this one. Even though it looks kind of messy and a little bit frumpy, the fact that she wore a traditional skirt she was gifted is so respectful to the nation, probably made those people feel so happy and special. The women who gifted her this, that meant so much to them. So I would give this third place because of that and that alone. Even though the top was messy and it could have been improved in lots of ways, that was meaningful, that was important, that was a good choice. Next would probably be the white strapless one. It's not perfect, but it's better than the next few. And the rest are honestly equally tragic. I would say the next 4 are tied for last place. We have the palm print spaghetti strap sort of dress. Terrible choice for the occasion. Does not read sporting event at all. And it had ill fit and was revealing. We have the perilous peach dress, unacceptable for the venue in every way, shape, or form, and it was ill-fitting. The polo halter neck, absolute messiest, completely out of place at the venue and ill-fitting. And then the red spaghetti strap, just laughably bad choice for the occasion. Completely wrong, completely opposite of what that scenario demanded. Poor execution too. Most visible undergarments in the red dress, just not flattering to her figure either. The only good thing about that dress was the color.
Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. I sincerely hope you enjoyed taking a look back at all of those fashion disasters. Leave in the comments section which one you think was the least bad and which one you think was the absolute worst on that trip. Thank you again. I hope you have a very happy day ahead, and I will see you next time. Bye!